Hello, welcome to Heidi Relationships. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe if you enjoy the video. The first story is titled, I 28M, found out about my GF's 28F affair with her boss 40 SM a week ago. Should I confront her before I leave? We have been together for 5 years now and I was saving up money for a house and a wedding, but all that's gone now. I go for a run every morning and I couldn't find my phone. I asked her to give my cell a call, but she wanted to go back to sleep and handed her phone to me. I always had some suspicions about her behavior the past few months and so I snooped. Let's just say all her business trips and late nights were all excuses for hooking up with her boss, who is also a married man by the way. I don't know when it all started, but from the texts, it seems like every day and all over the office. The lockdown stopped it and the wife found out about the affair as well. So the boss had to put an end to it. This also explained why GF was incredibly sensitive during March. I often found her bawling her eyes out, but the reason she gave me was one of her friends' mom passed away due to virus. Last few months has actually been good for us. I was happy spending so much time with her. And it all seemed well. We also had talks about marriage and children and what our future may look like. She also seemed more invested in the relationship compared to earlier this year. I had already started saving up for the house already, but due to virus I had to take a pay cut. So, I began looking for new jobs since last month. I have narrowed it down to 2 job offers. One in the same city with a substantial increase in pay and the other on the West Coast with a gigantic increase in salary with probably the best company out there in my field. I haven't told her about the offers yet as the negotiations are still ongoing. However, this was all last week. Since GF has started working remotely, she has had limited contact with her boss. But their conversations started again at the beginning of this month. At first, it was all about how much they both regret about what they had done to their respective partners, about how he has to put a lot of effort into regaining his wife's trust and yada yada yada. Then the tone shifted in the second week and it was all about how they still had feelings for each other but it has to stop. She also mentioned that she was looking forward to getting married to me and how it would break my heart if I got to know about the cheating. Anyways, all that texting lead them to decide to meet up for one last time and then end it between them once and for all. I found out about all of this last Friday and they are planning to meet up this weekend. By the way, she told me she is going to go and help out her friend who is moving back to her hometown this weekend. When I first read through everything, I just couldn't move from the sofa for an hour. It was as if my body weighed a ton. I started imagining them having sex and making fun of me behind my back and all kind of crap was going through my head. Last week was hell for me. Looking at her all excited about the weekend made it all worse. Anyways, I am packing up everything tomorrow while she is out. I am heading back to my parents. I have not told them anything yet. Rather, I have not said anything to anybody. I have kept it all inside me and it's getting bad. That's why I am writing this, because I'll go mad if I don't. I plan to take up the job on the West Coast. It's going to be remote for a while anyways, so it doesn't matter much. I am not planning on leaving anything behind, no letter, no text, no anything. I'll block her as soon as I hit the road. I have spent this week fixing up all my finances and talking with my landlord. And now I'm just done. What I want to know is, am I doing the right thing? Should I talk it out with her? Honestly, April and May was really good for us, but I don't think I'll be able to trust her anymore. It was really hard even looking at her face while talking to her the past few days. I just want it over with. It's just that she really looked forward to a life together and I feel bad that this relationship has gone south. A user in the comments said, "Leave without a trace, man. there's no point in confronting her because of the amount of respect she has for you, which is none. Who the duck says let's do it one last time then it's over. You know how ducked up that sounds, bro. That's like her living in her own world. Also comforting that mess is only going to affect you, you said it yourself, you don't know where your emotions is gonna take you if it gets into a shouting match. What you should do is consider therapy after this and block her on everything. Just know you gotta heal from this before getting into another relationship. She's in for a big ducking surprise when she gets back home. That same line, let's do it one more time then it's over, her whole life is gonna turn upside down. This is karma. Anyways dude, look out for yourself, she doesn't deserve any respect from you. Take that West Coast job and I think this is a time for you to be free and explore things about yourself. Try new hobbies, start to spend time with you before you get into a relationship. And also remember it's not your fault that she cheated, so don't think you need to fix anything, cheaters are always cheaters. The fact she's so nonchalant about it and like she thinks nobody will find out and how she wants to have sex with her boss and then get married with you, it is sad. Hope you take care of yourself after this, bro. Once you get to your parents, tell your friends what happened and all that, but from there I wouldn't even contact her. The text messages, man, are so disrespectful to you. Just go into therapy if you can and explore some things you might not have before. It's hard when we hold all this in internally. It hurts a lot too, which is why we tend to avoid it and suffer, but it's the route you should go. Going within, addressing your feelings, you may cry or any feeling may arise, just let it all out. You don't deserve this and it sucks it happened to you, but just know you aren't the problem. Hope you get through this situation. The next story is titled, I had to kick my girlfriend out of my house because she was scaring my brother. So on to the situation. My girlfriend 23F and I 24F have been together for 2 years now. My family always loved her and she even had a good relationship with my brother 16M as well. Last year my brother was diagnosed with a certain disease that almost took his life. My brother always have had a low immune system, which made everything even worse. My brother are still recovering, but in a much better condition right now, but unfortunately he ended up losing his sight on both eyes. Legally speaking he can be considered blind right now. When social isolation started to happen because of the most recent events, I decided to speak with my parents about how it would be better if my brother lived with me by the time being. My parents agreed happily. They both are essential workers and they wouldn't have much time to stay with my brother. He is still getting used to his new life as a blind person, and still adapting on how to live with it. If he needed help with anything my parents wouldn't be able to help. And also because my brother already have a bad immune system and it wouldn't be a good idea for him to live in a house with our parents who would constantly be dealing with patients who may or not be sick. I can work from home and I also have a lot of free time, so if he ever needed help I would be more than available to help him, so it was a win-win situation. I also invited my girlfriend to live with me. She have a very good house of her own, but we could be together, so why not, right? Everything was good and fine, but recently I started to notice that my brother became to not be himself anymore. I mean, even with all of this happening with him he was always cheerful and happy, and always trying to look at the good side in all of this, but recently he started to become more shy and introverted when my girlfriend was around, and I found that strange. Yesterday I was in my living room reading a book and my brother was at the kitchen drinking a cup of water. My girlfriend approached him and just said good morning. She just got up almost 7:30 a.m. I noticed my brother get scared. I thought that was just a isolated incident. She must have caught him by surprise, so I didn't pay much attention to it. But today I was hearing music while preparing our lunch and my brother was sitting on the kitchen talking with me. I noticed someone approaching and I saw that it was my girlfriend. When she noticed we were hearing music she started to walk slowly as if she didn't want to make sound. She bought behind my brother and quickly hold his shoulders and shouted, Hello there, how you're doing? My brother said he wanted to stay alone and went to his room. I was pissed at her. I asked her what did she thought she was doing by scaring him that way. She told me that she have read on the internet and also from her mother that scaring a blind person is a good thing because it makes them more aware of their surroundings. I started to connect the dots, and asked her for how long she have been scaring my brother like that. She told me around 2 weeks, up to 3 times a day if possible, in her words. I was seeing red at that moment. I asked her to never do that again. It didn't take much. It was almost 4 p.m. today and I was watering my garden when I heard my brother shout. When I got back inside he was shouting to my girlfriend leave him alone. I ended up getting in a fight with her. I tried every single thing that I could to show her that it wasn't okay to do that to a blind person and she needed to stop or else she would have to come back to her house. She promised me to never do it again. Tonight I was making dinner and she did again. I didn't know what to do anymore. We got into a huge fight and I ended up telling her to go back to her house. She argued with me that I was being unfair and he is just trying to help. I still refused to let her stay, and she just went to her home. She have been bombarding my cell phone the entire night about it was wrong for me to do that and I should have never kicked her out because something so trivial as that. I haven't been answering and I don't even know how to. I feel like I shouldn't have just kicked her out of my house, but I don't feel like it would be a safe space for my brother if she just goes around scaring him. My brother told me he didn't say anything to me before because he didn't want to cause problems as he was a guest. I don't think she would stop if she came back. She have a history of being a little bit stubborn sometimes but never something like this that would affect other people. I don't know how to respond to her. Should I let her back at my house but setting some ground rules? Should I not allow her back until my brother are back to my parents' house? Otherwise than this she was always a loving girlfriend and always treated me and my family with nothing but respect and love. I don't know how to go on from this. A user in the comments said, "Do you honestly want to be with someone who thinks it's okay to emotionally traumatize a blind person, especially someone who is recently blind and already dealing with more than enough emotional trauma from that? Your girlfriend is cruel. Knowingly, deliberately, maliciously cruel. At the very least, never have her around your brother again or he'll stop trusting you like he no longer trusts her." The next story is titled, "Update: I had to kick my girlfriend out of my house because she was scaring my brother." I would like to start by saying that I decided to get in contact again with my girlfriend, and I decided to talk to her. Of course I didn't let her back into my home and I wanted to talk on any other place than there. She called me to go to her house. I started by asking her where did she get the advice that she saw on the internet that said that scaring blind people was a good thing to be done. She was very reluctant to tell me, but when I pressured her a little more she ended up telling me. Apparently there's no article, no research, no elaborated study, nothing. The advice she got came from a friend of hers on Facebook chat, and she just went along with it. She also told me she lied about her mother telling her that. To clarify, her mother is a social worker where we live, so she thought that if she said that her mother had also said that it would make her friend advice a little more credible because she couldn't find any article or study. I tried to ask her about why would she think that her friend advice was good when she could nothing to corroborate it. She didn't want to answer. I asked her then why would she ignore me when I told her to stop and kept scaring my brother. She told me that she didn't thought that I would find it that bad, and that if I really loved her I would just ignore it because she was trying to help and that she feels that I don't love her because I would choose my brother over her just because now he is a crippled, her own words, on something so trivial, and that he should grow up and deal with his problems himself, and I as her girlfriend should be on her side always. Of course I was very angry at this answer and we ended up getting on another fight. On her words I shouldn't have asked my brother to come live with me, but as I ended up asking he should just be quiet and obey and accept what we do because we know better, for being adults. Before going to her house, I took some people advice and I decided to ponder about our relationship until that moment. And looking back, I could see a lot of things I believe I didn't want to see. First, every single approach on our relationship was taken by me. Want a date? I was the one inviting her. Let's go see a movie. I always had to be the one to invite. Romantic time? I had to start always. Looking back, the entire relationship looks one-sided. Second, she doesn't look like she cared much about boundaries. From the start, she disregarded every single boundary I've had before. I never took much action about them because they were small things. I believe that if I had made myself more clear before, it wouldn't get to a point where it would cause problems to my brother. I made a decision. I didn't want to break up, but if we were to continue a relationship with her, all of this would have to change. I talked with her and told her that I didn't want to break up, but if we were to continue a relationship, first, she would not be allowed near my brother and wouldn't be welcome to my house when my brother is there. Second, she would have to apologize to him and promise, and this time respect that promise, that what was done wouldn't happen again. And third, she would have to go to counseling with me. Those were my terms, and if we were to continue together, things had to change. She got mad at me, cursed me, told me I was an idiot to choose family over her, and that I was crazy to end a relationship over this. I talked with her about those things I mentioned earlier, and she called me stupid, that this is what a good relationship looks like. Of course, we got on another fight. In the end, she wasn't willing to compromise and make the relationship work. So, I decided to end things. Yep, we broke up. Of course, I left her house being called a lot of names. I blocked her on both my cell phone and social media, and right now I'm focusing on my brother. It hurts a lot that the person that I've been calling the love of my life recently could be that cold, but I guess it was for the better. A lot of you recommended therapy and counseling for my brother. He is already on it. Before coming to my house, he already was on it. I would like to thank you all for advice. I don't think I would have ever looked back at my own relationship if I haven't got to that point, and I don't think it would be safer to continue in that relationship anymore. She already disregarded boundaries with me. I didn't do nothing about it, and it got to a point where it ended affecting very bad my brother, and I feel very guilt for that. Thank you all for your help, and for your kind words of comfort. The next story is titled, My Boyfriend's Friend Filmed His Girlfriend Without Her Knowing and Showed His Friends. I said it was sickening and unforgivable, and my boyfriend told me to get off my high horse. Context: the filming happened 25 years ago. Him and his friend are 47 now. I just learned about this and reacted with disgust. Edit: the filming happened 25 years ago and he showed it to his friends immediately after. My boyfriend said it was a bad thing to do, but the filming and showing of non-consensual porn by his friend should be forgiven because he was in his 20s and stupid, and that the girl never knew, will never know. I said his reasoning was terrible and felt sorry for the poor girl, and asked if I told him that someone in their 20s filmed me unknowingly and showed it to all his friends, would he say the same thing to me, that the guy was 20 and stupid, and he told me to get off my high horse and that his friend is a great guy. His friend now seems like a decent person and has a loving family. He's done other awful things in his past, e.g. invited his friends to hide in his closet while he had sex with someone without her knowing. My boyfriend said he hid because he didn't believe he would actually do it, and when the sex started happening he turned away. I guess I believe my boyfriend, but it makes me very uncomfortable. I know this was 25 years ago and people change. He friend does seem like a decent person now. But I'm upset my boyfriend isn't as disapproving of this and got annoyed at me for being upset by it. Am I overreacting? Edit: his friend's actions are unforgivable, and from other things my now ex has told me and how people have made me question them, I do not believe he is a decent man from what I know of him. A user in the comments said, "This is why the Me Too movement exists." Because people like your boyfriend and his friend normalized horrible crap for years and years and made godawful excuses like, boys will be boys, or, oh we were just joking and having fun, it was just locker room talk, and, he was young and stupid. Duck him. If they were young and stupid he should have grown up and learned better. It doesn't sound like any of them have grown at all. They sound proud of it. The next story is titled, Update, my boyfriend's friend filmed his girlfriend without her knowing and showed his friends. I said it was sickening and unforgivable, and my boyfriend told me to get off my high horse. This post is very long, I'm processing it and can't write down my thoughts well at the moment. That weekend I ended up going back because my prescriptions and camera are at his place due to them being unsafe at my place. My parents look through all my things. I still loved him, and when I saw him that day I decided I didn't want to give up my relationship over something that neither of us got a chance to discuss fully and respectfully. I was in complete denial that the man I thought I knew would defend something like that, and I selfishly decided to live in denial and ignorance until I had the courage to bring it up and face whatever answer he would give me. That was a few weeks ago. 2 weekends ago we were having drinks at his place and listening to music, discussing a singer and his past allegations of abuse. I stupidly brought up my abuse in the past and we talked about it. There were 2 incidents I mentioned which I don't want to repeat here. We were both drunk. When he's drunk, he has no inhibitions on what he says and behaves badly. For some reason, he decided one of my abusers were worse than the other. I tried to tell him my experience and why, to me, one affected me more than the other. At no point did I say one was worse, and I don't ever intend to decide which was worse. He took this as me justifying my abuse and called me ridiculous for thinking how I did and that I can't see how one was worse than the other. To me both were traumatic. I wasn't and will never compare one to the other to decide which one was worse, and me talking about my experience wasn't me justifying it. He got angry that I wouldn't agree that one was worse than the other and asked me how I could defend one abuser over the other. I wasn't doing this. In complete frustration, I asked him how he could defend his friend for what he did. He got even angrier at that. He refused to answer the question and kept trying to ridicule me for describing one of my experiences as more traumatic than the other. I kept persisting for an answer. He stood by what he said the first time and defended his friend. He said in the 90s illegal filming and getting your friends to hide in a closet without the other person's consent to watch them was widespread and accepted and not as bad as it is now. He said he found the incident amusing and funny because he couldn't believe it actually happened. He said when he told me the first time he thought I would be cool about it, because I was one of his friends. I asked him what he expected my response would be when he told me. He said he thought I would also find it funny. I asked him if he really found it funny, and he said yes, he thought it was a funny, amusing anecdote. I told him I felt sick. He laughed and said these words, "You are all woke, you young people. To you everything you think is right. Only you know right from wrong, you're always correct." I asked him if it was his sister or daughter, how would he feel? He said it would be unacceptable. I asked him if he found it okay because the girl wasn't his friend and he said yes. I couldn't believe it. I left. The verbal abuse from him continued through text. I told him I was leaving because I couldn't be with a man who found sexual crimes amusing and funny. He told me the reason I was leaving because I couldn't accept that one of my abusers was worse than the other, and I had to bring up his friends to deflect. He kept repeating this for an hour. I asked him one last time if he really justified the abuse and if he thought because he didn't know the girl it was okay. I asked if his friend came up to him now and showed him a tape he filmed, would he find it okay? He said these words, "I will always defend my friends, that includes you and all my other friends, for better or for worse. That is how I am." I was sitting outside while this happened. I went back to get my prescriptions and camera before leaving for good. I was shocked to find him still drinking and took his beer off the couch to throw it away when I left. He was furious. He grabbed the bottle from my hands and in the process it spilled on the carpet. I haven't seen that much anger in him before. He told me to duck off, because I disrespected his place and that he never wanted to see me again. Somehow, despite it all, I felt extremely guilty for ruining his carpet and sent him money to pay for cleaning it. I left with all my things. I lost all track of time. At this point it was nearly 2 a.m., I was a long way from home and there would be no public transport home for another 2.5 hours. My phone was on 3% and I was desperately trying to book an Uber and find a safe hotel to stay at for the night before it died. I was waiting for the hourly night bus to the city outside his apartment when 4 men got out of a taxi and started catcalling me, and one asked where I was going, if I wanted a ride, if I would go to a hotel with him to sleep with him. They grabbed my ID and looked at my name and place of work and started asking me about my workplace. My ID was in my hand because my transport card is attached. The bus arrived and they waved it away. That was the last bus I could catch until transport started up again. They weren't being aggressive or touching me, but I panicked and called him. My boyfriend came over and took me back to his apartment to stay until I had transport, and to charge my phone. I had nowhere else to go, so I said okay. He was still drinking, 12 beers in, and still angry. He told me to sit down or leave. I sat. He tormented me for an hour about my abuse and about how I was ridiculous for defending my abusers and trying to insult his friends. I just sat there and cried until he said I could go to sleep. He kept drinking. 16 beers in, he finally went to sleep because he had no more to drink. The next morning I tried to leave quietly, but it woke him. He asked me why I was leaving, that it was unfair and that he wanted a chance to explain. I told him why I was leaving and he stood by his view that me bringing up his friend's abuse was the reason the argument started and the reason the night went badly, that I was trying to attack his friends. He took no responsibility for what he did and didn't apologize for anything. He kept insisting it was unfair. The next week I told him I don't want him contacting me again. He asked for a chance to explain. He sent me texts addressing both of his friends' crimes and said they were wrong, that everyone who watched were in the wrong, and that he was in the wrong for not walking out of the closet and stopping it as soon as he knew what was happening. He asked me what I thought was the reason for the agreement. He said, again, that it was me who started it because I brought up his friend. But he also said he was in the wrong because he was drunk and said things he didn't believe, his views on his friend's actions. He wanted to share, 50-50, blame. He said he'd been a bad boyfriend and did bad things that night and apologized for them. He sent me back the money for the carpet was okay, otherwise I would have still insisted on paying. He said he's willing to talk about it respectfully with me and wants us to be able to do that in the future. He said if I ever have something to discuss I should choose a time when we're both sober and are in the mindset to discuss. I agree I brought it up at a terrible time, but I don't think drinking is an excuse for his actions that night. He says he'll change if I can change with him. He said he doesn't want something like that night to ever happen again. I don't know what to do or think. I feel lost and worthless at the moment. I feel like I'm still being manipulated and I don't know if I can trust him to change. He's made me happier than anyone else but also more miserable than anyone else. He is currently my only source of happiness. When our relationship is good, I don't know if I'll be any happier or worse off I give that up. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.